there were some things said and some comments made that personally offended me, and I'd like to clarify some of those comments. The truth of the matter is that this was a county mandated reassessment. The township, municipal township, mayor and council, we only for 17 cents of every $1 that you guys pay as in your property taxes. Just to give you an idea, and I know you guys can do the math, if you pay $10,000 a year, and if you eliminated government, local government, which supplies you and provides you with police, road improvement, bulk pickup, recycling, and many other services, you're still going to have an $8,300 tax bill. So the other thing that was mentioned, and in my opinion, it's not true, it's that we were raising taxes to buy and pay for the new municipal building. That is also not true. Not 1 cent, not 1 cent in this year's, past year's budget went in there to buy, repair anything from that municipal building. The truth of the matter is that those monies were bonded for many, many years ago, and we bonded them for land and property acquisition. We did not put them into the general funds even if we wanted to. So, in my opinion, the purchase, and I was not here on the council when the building was bought, but I do support it. It was needed. We have employees in this community working under unsafe environment conditions, and I think that we all agree that we do not want that to happen. So we have to provide, it would have cost us twice as much to repair and bring up to spec the current buildings that we own. The other thing that, Mayor, if I may, that were the appeals, the $1.4 million that people were successful with their appeals last year. Of the $1.4 million, 1.1, and I'm just using round numbers here, of that monies did not belong to the municipality. They were collected by other entities such as school, county, fire, and so forth. So, however, we had to, as the governing body, mayor and council, we had to come up with a $1.4 million to pay for those refunds. Although only about $300,000 were really our share. I have no problem with people questioning the process, my ability to govern. God knows I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. But when people start questioning my integrity and my character, I do have a problem with that. It's all I have, it's my name. As my dad always told me, all you have is your name. When you die, that's all you're going to take with you. Don't screw that up. This is how I was raised. So question my policy making and so forth, I have no issues with that. But please defer from questioning my character and my integrity, because I do take that personally. And I will take whoever is. The problem is that I don't know who it is, because they all either hide behind a keyboard or they leave anonymous phone messages, as I received today, which he reminded me that he blocked his number, and he reminded me of my heavy accent, which, by the way, I'm quite proud of. And the reason I know that I have a heavy accent, and that's why I speak slowly, and I try to speak clearly, and as I was reminded here before, I use my hands a lot. So make sure people understand me correctly. I share your frustration, believe me. I'm a taxpayer, just like you are. However, I think there's been a lot of misinformation put out there. The truth of the matter is that 59% of our taxpayers, 59% of them received a reduction in their tax bill.
hold on. Listen. Everyone's going to be cordial, respectful to each other. If not, I will shut the meeting down. Okay, we're taxpayers, we live here. We understand, we empathize with people whose taxes were raised. My taxes were raised on both my dwellings in Howell Township. Okay?
Must be hard for
They happen
about
to
two
be
houses.
a development that the values remain pretty stable. And happen to be in another one where I won a tax appeal on an investment property I bought for my daughters, hoping they come back and live by me when they're done with college. And I won the appeal 3 years ago, and my taxes were raised 13% on that property. Now they're still not where they were 3 years ago, they're about $150 less. So on both my properties that I owe my taxes. But when Councilman Malave says a truthful statement that 59% of the people in Howell Township taxes that went down, that is a truthful statement. Okay? They're not going to come here and tell you my taxes went down $1,000 and $1,500 and $500. They're not the ones that are going to be upset. A revaluation is a rebalancing. And this was brought on by the numerous appeals. By the last revaluation that was also ordered upon this township in 2005. So this town was revalued and reassessed at the height of the market. And there was nothing the governing body wanted to do then. I was on the governing body at the time. I can't tell you the most joyful thing for me is sitting in front of a few hundred taxpayers whose taxes were just raised in a revaluation, because it's not. These are all good, honest citizens of Howell Township, and I understand your frustration. But you're also going to acknowledge the facts. If you can't acknowledge the facts, then what are we all doing here? I mean, I was elected mayor to represent all the people. The governing body was elected to represent all the people. And we've done it to the best of our ability. We've always been open-minded to suggestions from the public on how to do things better. There's been some drastic things done in Howell Township in the last 6 years. I was on Channel 12 News 4 years ago when the governing body chose to furlough this whole town for 3 weeks, which was the equivalent to 7 or 8% pay cuts across the board. Our police, instead of getting paid overtime, had to take comp time. At that time, it was because of fuel costs and a reduction of over $2.5 million in state aid in one swoop, plus health care costs that were flying through the roof. Some of our unions have taken 0% pay raises over the last 3 years. We've had a 20% reduction in workforce in Howell Township from 2004 till now. We went from over 280 employees to 220-something employees. We've made a lot of cuts. We've cut departments, we've cut staff, we've consolidated. These are tough times and we all know it. For anybody who's watched council meetings in the past and watched budget meetings, 5 to 6 years ago I would always say, we're going to look at these decisions like they were easy. And what we're looking at now, folks, I'm telling you now, we're going to look at 5 years from now and think the decisions that were made now were easy. We have a failed system that was put on us by Washington, D.C. and Trent. And the rubber has met the road. It is a true statement, only 17.5% of your taxes go to your municipality. We just happen to be the collector of 100% of those taxes. The collector. And when somebody wins tax appeals, we are bound by law, by Trent, to pay all of those monies that were already in everybody else's budgets out of the governing body's budget. So where else do we get it other than from the taxpayers? A governing body is just a conduit. Money comes from taxes, comes here, we make policies, and it goes out the door. We will listen to whatever you have to say. But I ask you to be respectful and to be truthful. If that's too much for somebody to be respectful and truthful, I will shut the meeting down. So, everyone's going to get a chance to speak that wants to speak. We will go all night. I've been in meetings in the governing body that lasted to 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And I do feel deep. My whole development went up in Ardena Acres. One of my neighbors stopped by my house and said, Bob, how come my taxes have went up $1,700? Now mind you, he's 56 years old. He's already retired on a pension of $60,000 a year with medical benefits for life. And I asked him who he expected to pay his pension and medical benefits for the next 25 to 30 years that we live. Well, it comes from the taxpayers. Because the governing bodies in Trenton, Washington never put away the money to pay for all these things. So they're coming from everybody now. And if big decisions aren't made to cut other things in the near future, they're just going to take more and more from homeowners. It's an unfair system that needs to be changed. Governor Christie has done some good steps, as well with the Democrats. They put some policies in place that will make a difference over time. It's not going to make as much of a difference compared to the catastrophe that's already on top of us.
Fury Vitola, I live at 33 Havensbridge Road in Howell.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to speak about, of course, the property tax adjustment of 2012. And, you know, I've heard a lot of nice words tonight from you and Mr. Millay in regards to fair and equitable, the situation that you people are in as far as making a budget work. But I have a few comments in regards. First, the fair and equitable. Originally, when my tax assessment was done, which was in 2007, they were increased by, I'll say, around $1,500. And I did do due diligence and filed a tax appeal, went before the county, and was denied. In 2011, I filed a tax appeal, and at that time, there was a judgment made for a reduction in my tax by some $30,000 in value.
Reduction in your assessed value?
Yes.
Okay. So your taxes at that time went down about $600, sir?
Around 700 and change. Okay. And they made the adjustment, and then after that, the township had done their reassessment, and now the value of the property went down an additional $40,000. So in all told, the property value had dropped some $74,000. Now I see the new tax bill, and trying to decipher what explanations I've read on the site, and for some reason I can't get my head wrapped around the math that's been used here. Because actually, with that sort of a reduction in the value of the property, and then my taxes to increase close to $800. If I were just to take it from 2007 until present, that would represent a 10% increase. If, as one of the gentlemen in the tax department explained to me, if it were done in the year 2011, when I received a reduction in my property taxes from my tax appeal, that would be even a larger increase, because with the refund that I received, which would have made my taxes in 2011 some $6,640. Now it's over $8,000. That's close to a $1,500 increase, which would mean 24%. When we talk about fair and equitable, we live in a diverse community now, as we all well know. Some live in developments, and and some live in residential zones, some live in agricultural residential zones, such as I live. There's a vast difference between the property that I live on and those that are in developments. How you can make a comparison between fair and equitable, it's just, it doesn't equate for me. And how I got a 24% increase in my taxes, again, doesn't equate to me. If you, you know, and I don't care how you do the math. If you take 6,000, I'll do the figures for you. If you take $6,747 and you subtract that from 8,270, which is the present tax, that's a 24 point whatever % increase in taxes. Now we can talk about what you guys have to pay into school tax, we can talk about county, and we can talk about the refunds that taxpayers have got, which I was one of them, but it's tax dollars that I've already paid. We all have budgets to work by. Mine absolutely is not as large as yours. But if I see in the future that there are certain things that I may want but can't afford, well, I don't spend the money on it. I know everybody touts the global building that we needed and it was such a great thing, or it is a great thing. I certainly don't agree, not at this time. And we weren't, as taxpayers, given the opportunity to say yea or nay. It wasn't you know, I could sit here and take up to half the time here tonight. There's a lot of people here that want to talk after me. But those are the things that, some of the things that I have a problem with.
Can I say something to you? And see if you agree with it or not. We have over $6.5 million sitting in accounts that are going to be used for two things: land or building acquisition. Nothing else. It's not like we can take $1 million a year and put it towards paying salaries, take it out and use it towards paying health cost increases. We couldn't take it out and pay towards pension increases. We couldn't take it out to pay for more police officers or DPW workers. That money that had been there since 2005 could only be used for one of two things: land or building acquisition. Okay? That building that we bought for $5.3 million was a 22-year-old building. We kept it downstairs rented for $750,000 a year. At the end of the day, the town will own that building within 8 years for not one penny of taxpayer dollars. We were at a crossroad on whether to put millions of dollars into the other buildings. And it was the governing body's decision that we throw in good money after that.
All right, well, could I interrupt you for a second?
You can, sure, sir.
All right, well, two things. One is, you got to crawl before you walk. I mean, I live in a home that was actually an Army barracks in 1944. It was moved on the property. And it was 670 square feet. That's what my wife and I lived in. You had to go outside to change your mind. Okay, that's how small it is. Now, over the years, since, and you are well aware of this.
Joe, I know you well.
Okay. We've made improvements on that home, but I didn't do it overnight. It had to be done in piecemeal or dribs and drabs, and that's the way I see it.
Okay.
Okay. I understand what you're saying about the acquisition of those dollars. They are slated for certain things. Well, you know, there could be improvements made on the crematorium site. It may not be improvements that everybody's going to be happy with, but that money would have been well spent in doing the improvements there, in my opinion. And over a period of time, if we're looking into the future, continue to do those improvements, but in small steps.
That's right. Just as long as you understand one thing that I'd like you to agree with me. It did not, your tax bill is not going up or down $1
But-
because we purchased just, I'm
Yes,
just asking you to agree with me.
I do.
The tax bill would not go up or down $1 because of the purchase of
Mayor
that bill.
Walsh, I agree with you, but,
Okay,
but
all right, that's all.
but the fact of the matter is, you also spoke to revenue coming from that building from rents.
So
Is this helping the residents of Howell Township? Does that do anything to lower our tax rate
Well, it's going to help us tremendously over time, yes.
over time? Well, you know,
You can't
what about
write,
the
you can't
president?
write this, you can't write this ship overnight. I mean, you can't.
No, I understand what you're saying, but you know, we're not only not writing the ship, we're continuing business as usual. You know, there's a lot of people sitting here tonight that are very angry about their tax increases. I'm not the only one. I mean, mine's probably insignificant in comparison to a lot of other people. You know, but you know, unfortunately, I don't live in a development and I'm not taxed accordingly. So,
Anything else, sir?
I could make other comments, but I don't think they'd be very polite at this time. So, you know, my main concern is that our property taxes, what we're paying now, with the value of homes, with the economy the way it is, if we want to be fair and equitable, be fair and equitable to everybody. And there's those of us that are on fixed incomes, such as myself. You know, I'm not trying to make anybody feel sorry for me, but you know, it's not as though I can go out and get a job tomorrow and say, you know what, my taxes went up $500. What the heck, I'll make it up. I can't do that anymore. And I moved into the home that I live in now because that's what I could afford, and I've kept it that way because that's what my wife and I can afford. I didn't try to live in a McMansion.
It is a mansion, Joe, it's your mansion.
Well, you
Your
know,
Bruce mansion.
yeah, absolutely, but it's still, you know, it's modest.
Joe, may I ask you a question? Just so we're all on the same page. Would you mind divulging how much you pay in your municipal tax on your bill?
It's probably,
It's in the pipe, 14.
it's probably $1,400 in municipal tax.
This governing body, just so you understand,
No, I'm sorry, it's actually, yeah, it's $1,407.
the debate should be with us. Do you feel you're getting services of $1,400 for your police?
Shouldn't have asked
You
me
vote,
that
well, that's the debate I want to have, because that's what I can control.
All right, if
So,
you want an answer.
may I finish? Just so we understand.
Sure, I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
So, if the $1,400 you pay, you're not satisfied with police, your DPW, your roads, your senior services, bulk pickup, all the stuff that we, governing body offers you, the government offers you, I want to have that conversation all night with you. Because
Okay.
that's what I can control, and that's my job.
Okay, let's have that conversation right now. All right? Since you brought it up.
I brought it up because that's what I can control, and that's where I want you to understand.
Okay, sir, here's my complaint. When I call the township as a resident with certain concerns, and I'm told by one of your people's secretary that it's impossible for me to speak to that person when they're a public servant, I have a problem with that. I also have a problem with when I call and bring it to the attention of one of the departments in Howell, that someone is tracking soil all over the roadway because they don't have a proper tracking bid, which is something I'm very familiar with, right, Bob? And they tell me, well, that's Real Soil's job. It's our township. I worked for municipal engineers for 14 years. It's not that hard for someone to go out there and say, stop and do the proper thing. Let's not call every other department and say, well, you know what? We'll get around to it a week from now. There's a situation right now that's went back through engineering to code enforcement, back to engineering, that I spent 2 months speaking to different people in the departments in Howell about getting taken care of, which has to do with the site triangle. I didn't want to bring that up tonight because that's not what I was here for. It's not being taken care of. Okay? We talk about roads and the condition of roads. You pave Lemon Road and you leave a portion out because there's a project there that's been going on since 2006. Nothing's been done there. I worked for Lennar. If we would have done something like that back in the day, you guys would have been on us like a new suit. This guy sits there 5 years later, the road's still in the same condition. Somebody that's not familiar with that road sees a newly paved road, they go rocketing down the road, and now all of a sudden they hit a bunch of potholes, a shoulder that's not properly based, things that I know about, and I know what I'm talking about. Bob made a statement earlier, Mayor Walsh made a statement earlier that he wants to hear the truth. And I'm telling you the truth, and I'm telling you things from my own knowledge. You know, I really didn't, I didn't want to get into those things. Because there's a lot of things that I'm dissatisfied about, but it has no issue with tax, and that's what I'm here about. But you asked me a question, and I'm going to answer your question. Yes, there are many things that I'm not happy with.
Mr. Matiano, I want another road looked into, okay? Please.
You know, it's how we move in Howell Township. And, you know, we're trying to do things, you know, we're giving, what's the term you got this usually, giving people time off. All right, furloughs. You know, it's only hurting the services to the small guys. It's just like talking about what's happening with education, which you guys have no control over. But the fact of the matter is, and I think anybody would agree with me, there's too many shiny shoes. Too many shiny shoes.
Well, I hope to see you at the next Board of Ed.
There's lots of things that we could do.
67% of the bill, that we know is going to education. 67, 2/3. You know, the Board of Ed meeting, there'll be 3 or 4 people there.
And you know something, every time it comes up for vote, I you know, I'm one of them.
Joe, anything else?
It is what it is, but you know, I'm trying to answer your question. You know, and you can see it's really a heated issue with me. I don't like the way I'm treated by a lot of people that I have to deal with in town. You know, it's like a shell game.
Joe, can I go to the next person?
Sure.
Ma'am, state your name and address, please, for the record.
My name is Madeline Domahowski. I
Good
live
evening,
at 2
ma'am.
East Raphael Lane at Equestrian.
Okay.
When I moved into my, what I thought would be dream home for retirement. My retirement is mostly in stocks, which we know it's kind of like not going up. And then I, of course, have Social Security, which we also know is not going up. However, my taxes, that's another story. See, they went up 25.8%. If I were to make a product and put it on the market and it sells, then the next year I raise it to 25.8%. It's not going to sell. Nobody's going to want it. I'm going to go out of business. Unfortunately, because you are the powers that be, you don't necessarily go out of business. You don't claim bankruptcy, as many towns in California have. But what I'm saying is, you can't raise this much. My assessed value did not go up that much. So I'm not complaining about that. I also understand why many people didn't dispute their assessed value. Because it's stated right there. You cannot compute your new tax rate based on your new assessed value, because the rate has not been set. The rate itself went up, let me find my numbers, 24.8%. If I was in 4th grade, I'd say that sucks.
I have one thing to say to that. What would you say in 5th grade?
You don't want to know, I'm from Jersey City.
So
I went to Henry Snyder.
I was born in Christ Hospital. My brother's in Margaret Head.
Okay, so the point here is, my salaries or my incomes to pay things is not going up. So how do you expect someone on a fixed income to continue this? That would be question one. The other point would be, If I were a resident in any place other than Equestria, you, Howell, does the snow removal. You, Howell, do the road repairs. In Equestria, you don't touch them.
Man, that is not a totally true statement, okay? In any of the planned unit developments or condominium complexes, we do not take care of all the roads and snow removal. We take care of the main thoroughfare.
But that's the point.
Okay?
If you live in elsewhere, the road is taken care of. So that's computed in your tax rate. I have to pay another fee to another coffer to cover that, so that there's money there when that needs to be done. But I'm paying the same rate as somebody else, but yet I'm not getting the same services. You also do the recycling. You collect that for your residents. You do not collect that for us. We have to pay a private contractor for that. So what I'm saying is, why in God's name would we have the same rate if we're not getting the same services?
I don't know all the particulars about everything with the question. I don't. I wasn't on negotiations about 5 years ago when we started to pay a portion back to Surrey Downs because they were getting nothing towards their snow removal or to their, I think we paid for the same amount of days of their recyclables being picked up as we did for Township residents, but not the extra days. Like they still wanted to keep it every week. We only did it every other week. If there's something that's inequitable just to a question, we would be glad to listen to you and adjust it accordingly.
We would welcome the opportunity for you to come to Equestria and meet with our board and discuss it.
Poolside?
I think a couple of board members are here. Charles, Mary?
We talked about the snow removal.
Okay, hold on. Down. Man, we have met with some of the members, okay? And we will be glad to meet with them again, okay? We'll be glad to, okay? Please, just put down where you think it's inequitable, and if it is, the township, governing body, will adjust it accordingly. If we don't think it is, though, okay, believe me, and
we're not looking for miracles. We're just looking for the golden dream that we were told we would have instead of the tarnished dream we currently have. Because my taxes went up 25.8%, which is close to is exactly $3,000 a year. That's ridiculous.
Well, ma'am, I sure hope to see you at the Board of Ed meeting. I would love to see you at the county freeholder meeting. Because again, we just collect the taxes. Only 17.5% of those taxes go to the municipality. 82.5% goes someplace else. Are we on the same page there?
How much goes to the state?
Excuse me?
How much goes to the state of New Jersey?
I don't believe me. No,
Right.
they shaft us another way. They don't give us the acres supposed to, they give it up to they give it to Jersey City.
I think we need to discuss it more thoroughly at a time when people aren't half asleep. Because as you know, most seniors, they're not up at this hour of the night. That's about it. Thank you very much for your time.
Nice shirt, John. Good to see you. How's Phyllis?
She's doing pretty well, thank you.
Give her a kiss.
Certainly will. Thanks, Mayor. Council, respectable staff. It's pretty funny being back here after 4 years, and I was forced to come for the wrong reasons. Mr. Mallory, I just wanted to let you know that I do understand every word you said, okay? But I have one problem. You're not Italian, so you can't talk with your hands. Okay, I'm not here to discuss how much I paid to each piece of the pie. I want to let you know from the outset, I am here to tell you that I agree with paying my fair share, okay? But when I got my bill, it seems like I am paying more than my fair share. And I did a little research. Instead of going to my pool this afternoon, I sat at the kitchen table and I crunched some numbers. Thank you for yesterday, for my wife and I to come there and try to explain to us, plus the other people that were at the tax assessor's office.
Who are you speaking to right there, John?
I'm sorry, the gentleman's name, I really don't.
It's Greg Hutchinson, he's our tax assessor.
Okay. Thank you.
He's not a bad human being, folks.
Okay. Let me put it this way to you. I have three different categories here, okay? I have a category of people that live in homes that have approximately the same square footage as I do, okay? And these particular four, which I'm included in, I dated back to 2009. And these particular people, whether they appealed or not, in 2009, their numbers, I'll use my numbers, was like, the assessment was $364,300. And my taxes were $7,213. When I appealed them, I won the appeal. The assessment went down to $315,800, and my taxes went down to $66,28. $584 is the difference. Okay, it stayed. My assessment stayed the same, and fairly, my taxes went up about $100. That was fair. This year, my assessment went down to $294,600, and my tax went up to $7,848. That's, I don't need that. So that's a difference of $1,118. Okay?
Hold 1 second. I will have none of that. I really won't.
Okay, so I went up $1,118. The other three people, same situation with the numbers. The only thing different is that they were increased from $400 to about $500, okay? Which I felt, looking at all my numbers, was fair. I can't figure out why, with me having the similar numbers, that I went up 1,118 compared to these other ones at 400 something. Okay, now, the next category are homes that had approximately the same square footage, give or take 120 square feet, okay? They did not have any 2009 appeals, okay? So their assessed value was the same from 09 to 011, and then all of their assessed values went down, okay? And on average, they decreased $300 to $600 a year, okay? And the last category are people that were approximately 200 square feet less than I am. Same situation, no appeals. Their assessed values stayed the same from 09 through 11, and then they all went down in assessment, and they decreased from $60 to $300. So, looking at these three different categories, everything seems to be in sync, fair, except the numbers on mine. I don't get it.
When you reassessed your house 2 years ago, when you did your due diligence, because you knew the market was going down, you were paying less money into the fair share. The other people weren't.
Up until 2009, I was paying $700 more a year than I should have. So I was paying more than my due bill.
So were they.
When I appealed, I came down to what I should have been paying my fair share.
Correct.
Okay?
But until the county does a full reassessment, I agree with you. But until you do the full assessment, they weren't lowered. So if you did your due diligence, you got the break, but they didn't.
No. There was no break. I was brought down, Rob, to where I was supposed to be.
Okay, but Mr. Livio, on this one, this is something that, if you think it is unfair, it's worth appealing. I mean, everyone did the best job that they could here. It was done by an outside group. Okay, I hope somebody complains about who did the reassessment. Okay, but let me tell you, we put it out to bid and only one company in New Jersey bid to do it. So we had a choice between 1 or 1. So there was no place else to go. All right? So,
Mayor, but the company that did it the first time, the revow,
that's what we did this time.
I know, and I'm saying, we didn't learn our lesson the first time because they were totally inconsistent with what they did and how they went about it. And here we are with the same people again, and as far as I'm concerned, they still had some inconsistencies.
I am all for you appealing your taxes, and if you have a valid claim, Greg's a very reasonable man. He really is. He's very reasonable.
No, I understand. I even asked him if he would, first chance he gets, I want him to come and reassess my house again.
And I'm sure when he is available, after all this is over, he'll be glad to come around, look at it, and then maybe you can appeal it next year in the spring.
Absolutely.
That's what has to be appealed.
But I just want you to know,
Not everybody has that fine train set up you got upstairs.
or my fine car in the garage. No, I just wanted to let you know though, that I'm here to let you know that I'm willing to pay my fair share, but I thought that I was paying a little more excessive than everyone else that I compared numbers with, where I should have been in the same category.
And I can tell that you're trying to be reasonable. You showed that 2/3 of the people went down. We know the numbers. 59% of the people went down. We know it. It's a factual number. Just happens to be they weren't in my development, or obviously in another development. Okay, but 59% of the people went down. So, Mr. Libby, anything else, sir?
No, that's it. Thank you very much.
Pleasure to see you. God bless you. Coming up with a smile. I got a lot.
Hi. My name is Yvonne Lorenzo, and
Your address, please.
What?
Your address, please.
I was getting there.
I'm sorry.
I reside at 72 East Milan Boulevard, and I am here to speak on behalf of the red shirts that you see before you, which is the residents of Equestria. So I do know that some residents got up beforehand, so if I'm redundant, I apologize. To make known to anyone who may not know at this point, Equestria is a self-contained community, and we are self-reliant in respect to our own trash removal, our street lights, our roads, blah, blah, blah. And I found it interesting that you used the word balancing earlier when you were speaking about about people who had taxes who went down and your unfortunate rise in tax of $1,700. And the word balance is something that we feel needs to be struck. In accordance with your letter to the residents that was dated on July 16th, your rationale for the tax increase was due to the $1.4 million decline in revenue.
That was a portion.
Yes, when I read the letter, because we only got our tax bill on Saturday and this meeting was this evening, the time for research, and that was tough. But a good portion of the letter did deal with that, which to the reader would kind of say, hey, we want you to understand this. So ironically, the credit loss was due, according to the letter, to the settlement of these successful tax appeals. But for us, a major point in fact is that presently this increase represents the Equestria residents as being responsible for satisfying 35% of that 1.4 million deficit. With the tax increase that we have presently, with the amount of residents that we have now, we represent 35%. When the Equestria community is completed, it will represent less than 2% of the Howell population, yet it will then be responsible, if the taxes are consistent, for covering 75% of that lost revenue.
Okay. Listen, you're good. Okay. You're good. Okay. But your numbers don't tell the whole story. Okay. What happened last year, okay, that caused some of the shortfall this year, the reassessment had nothing to do with the shortfall last year. They're two different total entities. Hold, please. Please. Didn't have time to write a book. All we did was address some of the phone calls and a few of the emails so that people would have a little bit of a general information about what has been going on, okay? The shortfall of 1.4 million totally had to do with people that won tax appeals last year. When they won their tax appeals, the governing body still has to come up with all that money. So we know 2/3 of it goes to the school board. We still have to give the school board $900,000, even though we did not collect it. So where does it go back to? It goes back to the residents of Howell Township to pay it. We're not allowed to tell the school board, oh, they won tax appeals. You're not getting that $900,000. The way the law works, and this is why you need to address it in Trenton also. It's ridiculous that it falls back onto the taxpayers. It is ridiculous. But as a governing body, we do not have a choice. That was only 1.4 million of it. Okay?
Right, I understand, that's why we were addressing just that issue, just in accordance to what you had written. So we were, like I said, the time factor here was a little bit slim, so we were working with what we had.
Okay.
And I am representing all of the brilliant people that I live with.
There's some great minds.
I'm not retired, so it's tough. Okay, so coming from our perspective, rather than a resolution to the $1.4 million decline that you have created, instead you have created a dramatic and grossly inequitable shift of the burden. And for us right now, with a 25 to 35% increase, it's on the Equestria residents.
Okay.
3 to 5% increases are within the realm of anticipated expenditures from one period to another. But a universal 25 to 35% without warning or a method of relief, it's impossible to expect us to absorb that and not want to vomit somewhere. You know, like, oh my God, how am I going to do this?
Okay,
Especially since so many of them are on a fixed
Let me
income.
ask you a question. So you blame us, the county ordered revaluation? Hold on.
You are the resource at hand.
Hold on.
You
We are
are the tax
ordered
assessor?
to, hold on.
You're the resources at hand.
We are ordered to do a revaluation, which we have to do. And you want to blame us?
No.
For doing it?
No.
Hold on, stop. I am not going to accept blame for doing something that I would rather not do. I would rather not do a revaluation. This is the second one I've been through. And neither one of them were pleasant things.
I'm going to ask you not to take the word you personally. It's simply a generality, and it's a matter of what I'm addressing is actually the case in fact, what has occurred and how it is affecting us. The word you is a generality. It's not you. I didn't say Mayor Walsh. I'm not doing that. I don't mean for that. I don't mean for you to interpret my comments like that either. I'm simply trying to address what we are faced with and how we feel it is inequitable, and that, you know, it's like a grievous levy on our.
But all is done, not just you. We did not want to do a revaluation. We were forced to because of how many tax appeals, were done not just by local residents, and they're justified, some of them are as accurate as could be, but all the commercial tax appeals that are done all the time down in Trenton. And when you lose those commercial tax appeals, and not let you just make the money appear, that gets passed on to the residents. Because there's X amount of dollars that is already allocated, and that is it. So when we lose those commercial tax appeals, that comes back to the residents of Howell Township.
And in understanding that, no one has an argument with that. It absolutely, just like it is our responsibility to pay for the firemen, the policemen, and the schools. I understand all that. We all understand all that. We're an intellectual bunch. However, the inequity, it's not, we're hearing people say, my taxes went up $800, my taxes went up 7%. We're not dealing with that. We're dealing with 25 to 35% across the board for just the Equestria residents. That's ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous. employee, I would imagine that there's maybe some of your business owners, if your employee came up to you and said, I would like a 25% raise because I need to cover the tax increase, so I need a cost of living increase of 25%, you would probably blanch, and in all rightfully, you would throw them out on their nose and say, really? Are you kidding me? Well, that's where we're sitting right now. Really? Are you kidding us? Thank you.
Name and address, please, for the record.
My name is Carmen Corcione. I live at 7 East Corsica Court in the Equestria Development. I'm here this evening in a dual role. One, as an individual Howell resident who had an exorbitant increase in my tax, and two, as a representative of the Equestria community to discuss the issue. And our issue is manifold, but tonight I want to speak on one issue. And it's not about the budgets, it's not about the allocation, it's totally about the reassessment. And what we believe is that the reassessment was done to eliminate some inequities that existed in the past. In our opinion, this was a total disaster, and the reason for that is that they didn't eliminate the inequities, they just transferred it from one resident to another. Because we believe that our assessments are fine, but the allocation is inaccurate because all of our taxes went up between 25 to 35%. Personally, mine went up 31%, all right? And we believe that the way the assessments were done was not on a systematic basis and that there were the inequities in the process. And because of those inequities in the process, that people had their assessment reduced too much, and therefore causing the people who have relatively new homes that are at market value to bear the burden of that increase of the taxes that was not covered under the previous assessment. To give you an example, we believe a major factor had to do with the assessments on the land portion. In the Equestria development, the average lot size is approximately 7,500 square feet. The assessment for that is approximately $125,000 to $130,000. However, there are other homes in Howell that have an acre of land, almost 7 times the land size of Equestria. However, their assessment was exactly the same. $128,000. Now that to me is totally ridiculous because the land, whether you're in a development or whether you're in a residential community, is relatively the same. Maybe farmland might be different, but residential area is basically the same. So if you allocate it on square feet, and if the acre is appropriate at $128,000, then our land portion should only be $18,000. And if that was the case, we wouldn't have an argument, we wouldn't be here tonight. But my point is the inconsistency. Now, you've said yourself that, wait, let me just finish on point, okay, is that you were dissatisfied with the last reassessment, and you're not happy about the current reassessment. Our point is that when you know the inequities, and we don't blame you for the reassessment. We understand why it was done. But if you don't do something to resolve the inequities created by this reassessment, we will blame you because you have the power to do that.
First off, I don't have the power, but you're not being totally fair, and I'm going to tell you some reasons why right now, okay? I'm a mortgage company, so I've been doing mortgages on homes for years and years and years. A lot of times value of land comes down to zoning, okay? A 3-acre piece of property that only one home can be built on isn't worth 10 times as much as a 1/3 of an acre that only one home can be built on. It doesn't work that way. Okay, so your analogy is not 100% accurate when it comes to value or anything. Okay, so that's really not fair. Okay, and go ahead and ask somebody who has a 1,700 square foot home on 4 acres whether their land should be 20 times the amount of yours because it's 7,500 square foot. They tell you it's ludicrous. And as a value, when it comes to an appraisal or what something worth, it is ludicrous. Okay, so that's not a fair analogy. Equestrian got hit hard. Okay, if there were inequities, we will address them. But you got hit hard, the same reason my development got hit hard. They sustained their values. Okay? It's the major reason. There are portions of Howell Township that are down 30 to 35% in value over the last 6 years. And I can tell you that as a fact. That I did mortgages on homes and developments that sold for $380,000, $400,000 in 2006. Those same homes are selling now for $260,000. Okay? So, in my development, I told you I had a gentleman come up to me who told me it wasn't fair. His home was assessed at $485,000. Well, 4 homes are sold in my development. One of the short sale for $425,000. The other 3 homes are sold for $480,000 to $580,000 in the last 6 months. What makes him think his home isn't worth $485,000? He wouldn't sell it to me for $4 tomorrow. So, anybody whose home has sustained their values in a revaluation in a down market will carry some of the brunt of it. But I want Greg, our tax assessor, to address some of the process. Okay? I mean, I look at my townhouse over here in Adelphia Greens that went from $5,900 down to $5,000 when I appealed it 3 years ago, and now it's up to $5,700. There were still many people in Adelphia Greens who never appealed their taxes and were paying $5,900 for the last 3 years. Their taxes went down in this reassessment, $200. Mine went up $700. Okay, that's because I had appealed them because the values had went down. A lot of people don't go through the process and appeal their taxes. In Equestrian, I know you're not happy. Okay, I'm not telling you should be because you should be. I think what you're paying is egregious. I really do. But we only collect the taxes. Okay, the real issues are other places. 67% of your taxes are going to the schools. What Trent's doing is a catastrophe. Okay? And it needs to be addressed statewide. All right?
And everything that you're saying we agree with, but that's not the issue we're talking about here.
Well, he's going to address
What
the
we're talking
process.
about is the reassessment, because the reassessment is what caused our taxes to go up. Not an increase in the budget, not an allocation of the budget. It's totally on the reassessment.
I want to ask you one thing,
Yes.
just for my own person. Do you think your home is fairly assessed? Do you think it's worth what is assessed at right now?
I'm not speaking for anyone else.
Just yourself?
Personally, yes.
Okay.
But let me explain something to you. My house today is not worth the same it was worth last week because of the tax increase. Personally, I will look for a reassessment, but that was totally because of the tax. Now, I know for a fact that Equestrian has been a success and in the sale process. However, that was prior to the tax increase. I know that a number of committed new residents have backed out of the contract specifically because of the tax increase. Now, as a businessman, and you are a businessman because you need to bring in new development, all of the tax burden is being put on the new residents because you have a market value, okay? And so you're gonna have a comparative disadvantage with other communities because your tax on the new homes is substantially greater than it was a week ago, all right? To give you an example, prior to purchasing at Equestrian, I looked at a home in Ocean County that was of similar size and similar value. Taxes there were $5,000. My taxes at Equestria was $8,000. I was willing to pay the difference. But if I had to make the decision again, my taxes are now $10,600. Howell is not worth $10,600. I would move to Ocean County. And I know a number of people who were considering Equestria are doing exactly that, going a couple of miles further to Ocean County to save 50% on the taxes. Now you're going to hurt the community, not you again. This process will hurt the community and everyone in it because you will stymie new residential development because of the tax rate. And I think it is the responsibility of the council to figure out how that reassessment has to be re-evaluated once again to equitably distribute the cost. We're willing to pay our fair share. Everyone has said we're willing to pay our fair share. 35% increase in 1 year is not a fair share, no matter how you look at it. We were fully assessed and we paid our share prior to the reassessment. Okay?
I'm going to suggest a little bit about the process, okay? Talk a little bit about the process.
With the reassessment, one of the main things that we have to look at is market value. There was kind of a perfect storm for Equestria because most of Equestria came on the tax rolls post-revaluation. So as your homes were being built and put onto the tax list, you were being put on at true market value. As of the year that they were built and sold, they were going on at true market value. Whereas the rest of the entire town, other than people that have filed appeals, were on as of 2006 values. This is why you guys see the increase now with the reassessment, because you have just been brought back into place with the rest of the town for market value.
That's the point.
Hold on.
That's the point that I'm trying to make to you, is that we recognize that you have a basis because homes are being sold right now for that value. You have a true market value for Equestria. You don't have that true market value for other homes in the community that have been there. What you will have is a subjective appraisal. And that subjective appraisal is the process that we're saying it caused the inequity. And what will happen is that as new developments come aboard, they're going to be taxed at the current market value at the higher rate.
That's right.
And you're going to be at a tremendous competitive disadvantage because of that higher tax rate. So it will behoove you, meaning the community, to reevaluate how that tax rate was assessed and to reevaluate it because it's going to stop. It's going to basically close the door on new residential development in the community because who wants to pay $12,000, $13,000, $14,000 here when you could go to Ocean County and pay $5,000?
So you're really not going to get an argument from me. Oh, but hold on. You know, we did what we were ordered to do, okay? Hold on. Hey, everybody. The bottom line is, you can believe it or not. How about this? Don't nobody believe here that I wanted to do a revaluation. I want no part of a revaluation. I sat in this room 5 years ago. Okay, listen to a lot of people who were upset because their taxes went up. All right? There's not a, it's a county ordered evaluation, and it has to be done. You got hit because you sustain values, and you are absolutely correct. That value on a home is in correlation to cost. When the cost to maintain that home goes up, the value comes down a little bit. You're right. You are absolutely right. Okay, so, but you know this also. You're a very intelligent man. You know that if money comes from someplace else, it has to be paid from someplace else. Okay? We've done everything we can to cut costs in Howell Township.
And we're not criticizing you for that, and that's not the point. What we're asking you is not to throw up your hands and say there's nothing we can do. What we want you to do is think outside the box. What can you do? Because this is obviously inequitable, and the majority of inequity fell on one community.
Hold on. I never agreed. Hold on, I never...
Justify 25% on a homeowner.
All right, please.
I don't understand.
Please.
No, I'm asking you, Mayor, how do you...
All right, please. All right.
How do you do it?
Please, come on.
No, I understand.
Everybody's trying to be respectful. And we do be respectful also.
How do you justify 25%?
Take a 5-minute break.
Howdy, folks. This is Tim Newman speaking to you with his voice. I'm at the Howell Township, I don't know what you want to call this meeting. It's all bullshit, if you really want to know. Council meeting. I came here to protest my tax increase. I've been a lifelong resident. I'm 56 years old. I've lived here my whole life. And my property assessment was dropped by $20,000, yet my taxes was increased by $1,463. So I came here to ask some questions. Why? Well, there's a couple hundred people in here all dressed in red shirts that are way ahead of me on the list, and they're asking why. They're getting raped even harder than I am. The powers that be don't seem to realize that you're overtaxed. Nobody has an answer. They get all the excuses. They get all their ducks in a row. And that's just the way it is. You're just a subject. You shut up and pay. Keep your mouth shut. Otherwise, you know, I guess they throw you out on the street. They take your home and somebody else buys it. And then they pay the taxes because they can afford them. That's all there is to it. Been born and raised here. I've seen it all go down for years and years. This is not the American dream anymore. This is survival. So anybody that's listening to this, I'd like to leave a message for the governor. Governor Christie, if you happen to see this, the first thing I want to say to you is I appreciate all the hard work you've tried to do. You've had some tough battles in front of you. But it's not over. You have to keep coming after these people. These people need to be investigated. I've talked to the governor, I've talked to the attorney general, I've talked to everybody in line, and it's just lip service, business as usual. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. Somebody has to get involved with this and find out where this corruption is, because they're stealing your money left and right. And that's all I got to say. Thanks very much.